Hi everybody, it's Fiona here from Physical Nutrition and the Eat, Train, Grow programme, and today I am going to talk about gut bloating, because gut bloating is something that I see all the time in the clinic. So many bloated clients out there, and there could be lots of different reasons for that. There might be a few different reasons, or there might be just one big reason. So I'm going to go through some of the really common things I see and some of the common causes of gut bloating. So the first thing I see a lot of is low stomach acid or hypochlorhydria. Obviously we need stomach acid to break down our food. It triggers our digestive enzymes further down the tract. Our beneficial gut bacteria love an acidic environment. They do not like alkalinity. But our non-beneficial stuff love an alkaline environment. So we really want to keep that stomach acid nice and at a good level. Of course, it's something that reduces as we age, and if the stomach acid has reduced, that means that you're not breaking down your food properly. You're probably producing a lot more wind and a lot more gas, and then you get that bloated, extended feeling. And some of my clients complain about as the day goes on, their tummies just get bigger and bigger. We could also have a lack of digestive enzymes. So our enzymes come predominantly from our pancreas as the food enters the small intestine. And sometimes, obviously as we age as well, they could be reduced. If we've got low stomach acid, the stomach acid coming down into the small intestine actually triggers our digestive enzymes. So, if we've got low stomach acid, we tend to have low digestive enzymes as well. Both of those are something that we could supplement and definitely help, and you could even use things like apple cider vinegar stuff, but I tend to go straight into the betaine hydrochloride, which is the hard stuff. You could have major gut stuff going on that's going to cause bloating. That could be constipation. So if you haven't been to the toilet for a few days, of course your tummy's going to be extended. You've probably got a lot of stuff stored in there. And even things like diarrhea can cause bloating as well, because you've got that stuff, sort of whizzing through 100 miles an hour, maybe extra gas and all that kind of stuff. Something I see a lot in the clinic, of course, is food allergies and sensitivities, and they could cause some major bloating. The top two that I see, and I take out most people's diet that have got gut issues, are gluten and dairy. So, of course, gluten, you could be celiac. That's a genetic issue, where you don't metabolize gluten very well, and it gets in there and causes nothing but inflammation. But you can also be gluten sensitive, and some people don't really believe in that. I see it all the time in the clinic. You don't have to be celiac to have a problem with gluten, and one of the biggest factors with gluten is, of course, bloat. You might not even, have gluten sensitivity, but if you're just eating gluten all day, every day, it really is quite harsh on the gut. It drives things like leaky gut. So, if you're having toast for breakfast and, pasta for lunch and then bread with dinner, you've got a lot of gluten going in there, and it just causes nothing but inflammation through the gut. Dairy, we could have lactose intolerance. That means that you don't have enough of the enzyme lactase to break down the lactose in milk. You could also have a casein sensitivity. So some of my clients get confused because that they're reacting to dairy and they still, insist on eating cheese and all that kind of stuff, or like lactose-free milk, and they still have a problem. And it's because they're reacting to the casein, which is the protein in milk, not the lactose, which is the sugar in the milk. Eggs are also a very common sensitivity. There's lots of very common allergies and sensitivities out there, but quite frankly, you could just be reacting to anything. You could have an allergy or a sensitivity to things like strawberries or apples or almonds or whatever, and you'd be thinking, oh, these foods are really healthy, I'm going to eat lots of them in my diet, and they're going to cause nothing but bloating and gut discomfort. So I've got a few other food sensitivities for you. There's quite a long list. As you can see, from my view as a professional nutritionist, usually I'm just ticking boxes and taking all the information I can from clients to actually work out what is going on with their gut. So we could have a sensitivity to oxalates. So oxalates, a lot of people don't handle oxalates very well, especially if you've got a lack of something called oxalobacter, which is a bacteria in our gut and in our large intestine that helps us metabolize oxalates. So really high oxalate foods, again, spinach, almonds, rhubarb, spinach especially is huge. So if you're having a green smoothie for it every morning and you are, have a problem with oxalates, then you're going to be bloating like crazy and not doing very well. And we also have things like amines, so amines and histamine, fermented foods, charred, grilled, overripe, overcooked, leftovers, been sitting for a while. Histamine's a big problem for a lot of people. Even things like eggplants are a high histamine foods. We've got alcohol going in there as well. If you are not built to metabolize those very well, then you are going to be bloated. We also have glutamate. So glutamate is, of course, an MSG, and MSG is used quite a lot. As a preservative, as a flavour enhancer, all that kind of stuff. So, if you have a problem with glutamate, you're going to have a problem with MSG. We've got lectins and phytates. These are found in grains, beans, legumes, things like that. So, on a blood type level, if you've done any reading on this kind of stuff, some of us are designed for some diets, some of us are designed for others, and I think, we're all built very differently in that respect as well. So some people just function beautifully on something like a vegan diet. So a vegan diet is very high in, grains, beans, legumes, because those are vegan proteins, but some of us just are not designed to handle the lectins and phytates in those foods at all. So lectins and phytates are like anti-nutrients that some of us just can't handle. So for example, I handle them beautifully, but I am ridiculously bad at digesting meat. I really wish I was great. I love a good steak. I really, really wish I was good at that, but absolutely shocking. Whereas some people are just built more for that hunter-gatherer kind of diet. So, if you're eating not for your type, then you're going to have lots of bloat as well, because some people just do not handle the lectins and phytates, the anti-nutrients in grains, beans and legumes. You can also have things like nitrites, again, which is used as a food preservative, especially things like bacon and ham. Not particularly good for any of us. They're proven to be carcinogenic, but you could be particularly sensitive. You could also have a reaction to phenols, which are super healthy foods on paper, very high in colour. We're told to eat all our colours, but you may have a problem with them, and also salicylates. Super healthy plant-based foods, but again, you could have an issue. So, there's lots of different sensitivities out there. It's just trying to work out what is going on. Usually I get my clients to do a food diary, and then I can sort of pinpoint, there you go. And if it's bloating all day, every day, then we're looking at some kind of food allergy and sensitivity testing. What I do find sometimes with my athletes is, if they're taking lots of protein powders, they may not digest them very well. Of course, if you're dairy sensitive, you really shouldn't be on any kind of whey protein. Go much more for like a pea protein or a soy protein. Some of us are really, really bad with soy as well. So you've just got to work out what's going to work best for you. Sometimes with protein as well, it's that lack of digestive enzymes to actually break the protein down, so that could definitely cause gut discomfort and bloating. We can also have something called dysbiosis, and this is very, very common, especially in the Western world these days. Dysbiosis is a dysfunctional mix of gut bacteria. So of course we've got our large house of gut bacteria based in our large intestine, and if you have dysbiosis, it just means that the dysfunctional nasties have kind of got on top of the good stuff. Very, very common. If someone has dysbiosis, they're likely to react to something called FODMAP foods. So FODMAP foods are fructo, oligo, di, mono and polyols. They're pretty much indigestible starches that none of us can digest very well. We rely on our gut bacteria to digest them for us. And if you have got a funky mix of bacteria in there, they are not going to be able to do a very good job of that. So a lot of the time when people are bloated and distended, especially with things like diarrhea, we often put them on a low FODMAP diet. So we take out, those FODMAPs, and hopefully the bloating, everything gets a lot better. We do all this gut healing in there, and then once we've done all that, you should be able to start adding things back in, and things get a lot better. Or you might find, that you have a problem with just one of those sugars, like say the fructose or, the polyols, and then everything else is totally fine. And then we have something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That is pretty much where the bacteria that should be in the large intestine has got up into the small intestine, where it really shouldn't be in any kind of numbers at all. They reckon that 70-80% of people with IBS, and IBS to me is pretty much a health professional telling you don't know what's wrong with your gut. They reckon that 70-80% have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or SIBO. It is a major issue. We definitely could do lots of things in the clinic to test for it. We can also treat it and get that bacteria back down where it needs to be and improve in the bloating. You could also have a candida overgrowth. So candida overgrowth is like the candida yeast has, overgrown in your microbiome. It's part of your microbiome as well. And that means then, that sometimes it can actually become totally systemic, get through the gut wall into the bloodstream, and then you're having brain fog and outbreaks and yeast infections, and it's all turning a bit of a nightmare. But candida is a major bloater as well, and it also makes you sugar crave like crazy because it loves sugar and carbohydrates. So if you're bloated like crazy and you're craving like refined sugars, then you could have a candida overgrowth. We could also have something called Helicobacter pylori. So Helicobacter pylori is a bacteria that lives in our stomach. It's probably endemic in about 50% of us. But when it gets out of control, it burrows into the gut line, and it could cause things like reflux and bloating and indigestion. You could get pretty uncomfortable. The treatment is like mega antibiotics, and usually I'm just trying to drag someone out the other side of that and bring their gut bacteria back. Of course, we've got our main diet, and a lot of my bloated clients are just living on junk. So, our beneficial gut bacteria do not like junk. They love fresh fruit and vegetables, so changing all the junky foods, getting rid of all the burgers and the pizza and whatever can really improve something like bloat. We've got to eat our fresh fruit and vegetables every day, because our non-beneficial gut bacteria, the ones that we really don't want, the excess gas producers, the ones over ferment, the ones that, drive all the bloating up into the, further up the tract, they're the ones that love junk food. They just love them. Whereas the really kind of calming, anti-inflammatory bacteria, they all just love fresh fruit and vegetables. So cleaning up your diet could definitely help with things like bloat. We've also got something called the migrating motor complex. So the migrating motor complex, so our body, our gut has two phases. It has digestion phase and it has cleansing phase. So our digestion phase is obviously the food's gone in, we're eating it, we're breaking it all down, it's getting pushed through into the small intestine and then to the large intestine. About an hour or so after that, an hour or two after that, what happens is there's a wave goes through the gut, and that's the cleaning process. We want that cleaning process to occur, very regularly. Every hour or two, we want that cleaning to go through, especially when you've got something called the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because that's what helps pushes all that stuff back down into the large intestine. Now, if you are constantly snacking or you're a grazer, that could seriously cause bloat. So the first thing I do for my bloated clients is I look at their scheduling of the food. I get them on, meals spaced out throughout the day, big gaps in between meals to make sure that migrating motor complex is going to push through and, clean out the gut as required. Of course, we can have hormone issues causing bloat. Absolutely, you've got things like PMS that could cause gut bloating. We've also got something called cortisol belly, where we're mega stressed and we're running like crazy all the time, and it could cause bloating in the gut. You could have things like estrogen dominance that could cause, especially weight gain on the gut, and hypothyroidism as well could totally mess with your gut as well because it slows the gut down, and even thyroid, hyperthyroidism to some extent as well, because it could cause things like diarrhea. So yes, your bloating could be hormonally based. Sometimes, it's linked to gut and hormones and gut are all linked because everything's linked to the hormones in the gut. So just bear that in mind. Now, most clients I could help, no problem in the clinic, absolutely. But every now and again, it's better to go and get checked, see, do you require a colonoscopy, do you require an endoscopy? If these things have been going on for a long time, then by absolutely you should see a health professional and get it made, checked out completely. Make sure there's nothing sinister in there at all, and then, then you could work on everything completely naturally. It's always good just to get that box ticked, especially if something has been going on for a long time, just to make sure that everything's safe and well and, you're in good hands. So there's my take on bloat. Bloat, like I say, is something that I work on all the time in the clinic. And, it seems to be like most of the clients that walk through the door are bloated to some extent. So as you can see, I'm ticking boxes, working out what is going on, usually using food diaries. Sometimes I use testing and food allergy and sensitivity testing. We could do SIBO testing in the clinic, that's generally a breath test. I also do stool analysis as well, and I could really map your microbiome and work out what the hell is going on in that gut. Okay, so I hope that's given you some food for thought. You know where I am, if you need any help with these things, and feel free to comment and ask any questions. I'll see you all soon. Bye.